Super Rugby round number 10, folks. The Chiefs have gone top with their big win over the Landers. The DRUvWAR have broken their losing run to record a second win of the season. And the Force and the Canes played out this season's first draw after going through super time and still coming out all square. We'll go through the games from the round that was. You guys can let us know your thoughts, how things are looking. We'll go through the log and the upcoming fixtures for round number 11. It's been pretty wet and miserable here in NZ. There's been storms and rain and flooding and whatnot. So that combined with the long Easter weekend, I feel like meant there weren't as many bums on the seats this weekend. But yeah, fingers crossed with some better weather, we'll get people back at the grounds for next week. I do feel like the Crusaders and Blues had a pretty good attendance, to be fair. Despite some pretty rotten weather down in Christchurch as well, this game was played in absolutely miserable conditions. But the Cantabrians and a few away Blues fans got out there to support the sides, and it was a bit of a ding-dong battle, 25-22. My Blues only come away with a losing bonus point despite the fact they were leading with 10 to play. Yeah. James O'Connor with that bloody boot of his gets the winner for the Crusaders. Me and Tony from Distracted Sports did a post-match reaction to that one if you want to see our misery in more detail. But in a nutshell, the Crusaders went out to an early lead to Mighty Williams. Josh Berry got one for the Blues in reply, and then Will Jordan before half-time took the Crusaders into a 14-7 lead at the break. Leo Willie got one, so they were looking pretty comfortable, the Crusaders. And the Blues were throwing wave after wave against the Crusaders, but their defense was immense until finally Satutu broke it. And then his assist for the AJ Lamb try is certainly the moment of the game. In the wet driving rain, flicks the ball behind his back like 20-meter bounce pass to Lamb. It was a risky play, but it paid off and squared things up with Bodie's missed conversion. Bodie got a penalty with, as I said, about 10 to play to put the Blues in front, but the Crusaders forwards managed to win themselves a couple of penalties on 72, and then basically on 80 minutes, Jock slots that final kick to win the game for the Crusaders. So no bonus point for them, which is why they've dropped below the Chiefs, but a losing bonus point for the Blues. The Blues would have liked 4, given that they are still outside the playoff spots at the minute, but yeah, at least it was a ding-dong battle, if nothing else. Turnovers conceded was 20-13. The Blues coughing up a bit too much pill, and you've got to give credit to the Crusaders for defending like demons for quite long periods of this game. Like run meters was 302 to 131. So the Blues had plenty of attack going forward, but it's just they couldn't quite finish them off. Crusaders still right up there this season. Second game, which is a Saturday game, early kickoff from Lautoka. It still proves to be a fortress for the DRUvWAR. They play better in Lautoka than they do in Suva. 28 points to 14, seemingly better weather over there in Fiji than here in NZ. Although there was still a bit of coughed up ball in this game as well. I feel like the DRUvWAR probably should have done more with all the chances they had. They only scored 2 tries and then had a penalty try at the death, which was a freak try. The Tars will be a bit gutted. They kind of threw away a losing bonus point, but I guess they wanted to chase the draw and potentially the win. Murray probably scored the try of the game for loose forward, busting tackles and showing some gas to go over for a try. Loganamasi continues to be absolute danger out on the left wing, and Gleeson and Heaven got a couple of forwards tries for the Tars. The penalties kept the scoreboard ticking over for the DRUvWAR as well. They scored early with the penalty, gave themselves a 6-0 lead. But, when you're looking at the stats, the DRUvWAR probably should have had more. And the Tars actually had a really good period of momentum, kind of the opposite of last week where we saw the DRUvWAR against the Highlanders, where the DRUvWAR were behind but just felt like they were going to go ahead. There was a while when that looked like that was going to be the Tars, but didn't quite happen. And then that freak moment at the end of the game where the DRUvWAR had a penalty to deny the Tars a losing bonus point, but they missed it and didn't kick it dead, so the Tars had a chance to run it out of their own goal area, but got caught in goal, and then Suali'i got pinged for being offside in front of the ball carrier when it bobbled forward, despite the fact that it was still in the end goal. and denied the Drua a potential chance to score a try. So if it ends up being a penalty try, it is one of the genuinely strangest tries I've ever seen. Denied bonus point, losing bonus point for the Tars. 28-14. Run meters is 600 plus to like less than 200. So that's what I'm talking about, the Drua. 14 clean breaks to zip. Waratahs lost like 5 lineouts. They missed a heap of tackles. So the fact that it was potentially within a score is maybe a little bit concerning. But hey, the Drua get their win. At Lautoka, they look good. And the Tars still not that good on the road. Next game was over here in NZ. Also pretty miserable weather over in Pukekohe. Brumbies survived a bit of an early push from Moana, who got held up early. They had a try chalked off for offside at the line-out early. And they had a yellow card period, which they survived with Tom Hooper. Didn't concede any points during that period. Scored right before half-time. Corey Toole showed that gas of his. Chasing an Andy Muirhead kick. Went careening into the barrier as well, into a fan. He showed some genuine concern for the fans' well-being after that, because he properly slid across the ground, which was soaking wet. So yeah, it was looking like it was going to go into halftime sheds 0-0, but it's 7. No, he missed the conversion, didn't he? It was 5-0 to the Brumbies. They took the early first half lead, and then Toole bagged a second, and then Pollard bagged a couple maul tries, of course, for the Brumbies in the second half as well. So yeah, they really pulled it away from Moana Pacifica without Ardie Savia, but Julian Savia was back in the lineup for the first time this season. So yeah, I think Ardie needed a rest, according to Tana. But yeah, they needed to capitalise on that early pressure, Moana Pacifica, because they had more possession at half-time. More opportunities probably, but over the course of the game, clean breaks finishes 5-1 to the Brumbies. So the Brumbies, I think, pretty deserved winners. And anytime you can nil your opposition, that's a pretty good mark for your defence. Chiefs Highlanders took about a game of two halves. 46-10. 46-10. Is this game of the week? I haven't made a call about game of the week. I usually think about it beforehand, but is it this one or is it the final one, which is a draw? Let's give it to this one, the Chiefs and the Highlanders. All New Zealand affair. Also, again, not the best conditions because of all the weather we've been having, but this game was 13-10 at half-time. It's close, but the Highlanders get nilled in the second, and the Chiefs absolutely go on a rampage. So it's not normal to pick a game for Game of the Week, which is such a lopsided score, but some of the tries for the Chiefs were just pretty slick viewing. Like Narawa got one for the Chiefs early. Kautai got one for the Landers. Ratu Vaitamuki-Nitkins, I just butchered his name. He was doing well, I think, for the Landers. Helped set up that try. He was certainly looking sharp, but yeah, second half, you got like Tupaia with the kick through for Carter. Boshier with maul try. He got a couple. D-Mac dinking through for Finau. Taukiaho got one from the bench. So yeah, they went on the rampage in the second half, the Chiefs, after, you know, a bit of disappointment a week before. They showed what they're about. Because they get the bonus point, they have pushed ahead of the Crusaders on the table. Turnovers conceded as 23-14 to the Landers, and it's a story of this week. Teams which didn't look after the pill tended to get punished for it, and they, to be fair, had to make a lot of defensive plays. The Landers, 142 tackles to 95, but they conceded some points along the way. And then the final game's a draw. The Force and the Hurricanes. Kunzel and Greeley for the Force. Just the one try through Whineanganofo in the first half for the Canes. It was a 14-5 lead to the Force in the first half. Second half, Hurricanes probably had enough momentum to win that game. Whineanganofo got a second. Harkin got one, but he said it in the post-match as well. He blew one. He just needed to push for the corner. Nick White was coming across, so he chucks it in field to try and find Roygaard, but doesn't find anybody. It was a try for all days, but they blew it. So, yeah. He also had another incident with a guy going into a spectator, although it was a cameraman. Harry Potter almost took his own head out on the bloody massive camera as he was sliding along as well, but managed to kind of just avoid it at the last second. But yeah, it goes into the full-time whistle, 17 points apiece with Donaldson's late penalty. So we get super time, which is after 5 minutes break. Coach is not allowed to come on the field. 10 minutes of extra time, but it's just one half of extra time. It's just one period of extra time. Even, what's the Forces captain's name? Jeremy Williams. Even he said he thought there was going to be more game time because it's unusual just to have one period of extra time. Usually you would think it would be two halves of it, but no, it's 10 minutes of next score wins. Donaldson had a 50-plus meter shot at goal. He had the legs, but not the accuracy. And Love had a shot at a droppy right at the death, which hit the post. Maybe this is game of the week. Changed my mind. This is game of the week, even though it ends in a draw. So, yeah, they split the points. Clean breaks is 6-6. Defenders beaten 38-25 to the Canes, but also turnovers conceded 15-8 to the Canes. So, looking dangerous, but also coughing up some ball. The Canes lads. So, the Canes really could have used a win in terms of their chasing down the Tars in that 6th spot with the Tars dropping a result. But most of the top half sides won, like the Chiefs, the Crusaders, the Brumbies, they all won. The Reds were on the bye. Force got the points from a draw. The Waratahs is the only top 6 side this week to drop a game. So the Canes really, really could have used an away win here. But nope, not to be. But still, there's still enough time for these teams to catch up. As things stand, Chiefs and Crusaders are locked up on 32 points. The Brumbies are not too far behind on 28. And there's a bit of a gap to the Reds, Force and Waratahs on 23, 22, 21. Canes, Blues and Highlanders are all kind of in that chasing pack on 18, 17 and 17. Moana's on 15 and the Drua still lagging just behind despite the win on 11. Next week, the Waratahs are on the bye. The Chiefs will face the Force. If the Force want to hang on to their top 6 spot, they'll need to find some points in the next 2 weeks in New Zealand. Reds are facing the Blues over in Brisbane. The Blues could really use a win as well because time is running out. Moana Pacific is hosting the Drua. That's going to be maybe the potential end of the Drua's campaign if they can't pick up a win. I haven't done the maths on how far or how many wins they needed for their remaining games, but that one's a must-win for them. Highlanders, Crusaders, that's a battle of the down south. Highlanders could certainly use a feel-good win over the Crusaders, and the Brumbies will take on the Highlanders, which maybe looks like game of the week along with the Reds and Blues one, just on paper, but the Hurricanes' recent record over in Canberra doesn't seem that great. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts on how this one went. What was your game of the week? Can you see any of the sides outside the top 6 pushing their way into the top? You guys let us know your thoughts and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. I'd appreciate it. Take care. Talk to you guys again soon. See you later.